Hey guys, LQ here with the LQ Review, and I'm going to give my review of the very excellent Mr. Dundee. Before I get started, just wanted to let you guys know that the LQ Review, this is my YouTube channel where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about, movies and video games and comic books and TV shows, and hey, this is a perfect opportunity to talk about a movie that stars Crocodile Dundee himself, the very excellent Mr. Dundee. But before we start, make sure you subscribe to that channel and make sure that you hit the like button or the dislike button. If you absolutely hate my content, hit the dislike button. It's all good. Leave a comment. I love to talk to people on here. That's why I do this. So I can have conversations about movies and comic books and TV shows and all that stuff. So leave a comment so we can discuss. And let's talk about the very Mr. Dundee. So this is gotta get my pretty face out of the way. So this is a movie starring Paul Hogan as Paul Hogan. He's playing himself. Now he's playing a fictional version of himself, but I'm not sure how much how much fiction is actually in this version of him. He plays Paul Hogan, but he plays Paul Hogan in a way that his whole life has been about Crocodile Dundee, and there might actually be some truth to that. I know that he's been not really in the public eye the last 20 years or so. So maybe his whole life has been about Crocodile Dundee, but that's really what this is about. He's in a position to be knighted, and what I really like about this movie is that everything starts to go wrong in this movie. So he's in a position to be knighted, but he ends up actually losing that position, that honor, when a whole bunch of stuff that gives him really, really, really bad press starts happening. And it's stuff that's not really his fault, but it starts happening to him nonetheless. All right, so for instance, he's in an interview with some people, and so there he is right there. Crocodile Dundee. His whole life has been about that. But for instance, he's actually no, he's in a pitch meeting with some people, and they're discussing a new Crocodile Dundee movie, and they say, "What about this? Your son could be, wait for it, Will Smith." And he's like, "Wait a second, that doesn't work." And they're like, "Why doesn't that work? We know he's a little older. He turns 50 this year, but he still looks younger." And he's like, sorry, I just had an issue with my light here. And he's like, there we go. And he's like, "Well, it doesn't work because Will Smith is black." And they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait a second." And they definitely bring out the whole, "You can't say that. You can't say that. That's racist to say that." And they try to play up the whole ridiculousness of cancel culture in this movie. And some of it's funny, and some of it isn't that funny. But that's kind of an example of what they give in this movie. To answer your questions, he does don the Crocodile Dundee outfit in this movie. It's very briefly, but he does wear the outfit in this movie. Again, though, it is rather brief. All right, so I did like this movie. I did think it was very funny. It was very hit and miss, though. The funny stuff was really funny, and the stuff that wasn't funny really landed hard and just didn't work well. And that was my biggest gripe about this movie, was that it was really about 50-50. About half the jokes I definitely laughed at and definitely appreciated, and about half of them not so much. There was a funny gag. My favorite gag in this movie involved he's got the helicopters swooping overhead. They're actually coming in to arrest somebody, and these pool floats blow out of the pool, and he ends up fighting these pool floats to the ground. And the news chopper that's overhead, they're like, "Oh, poor Paul Hogan. Looks like he's trying to relive the glory days." And it was really funny. For whatever reason, I really felt that this is actually part of the scene. For whatever reason, I thought that scene worked really good, and I really laughed pretty hard at this scene. I thought it was really funny. The whole pity that they felt. It's like, oh, poor guy. he can't let it go. There is a lot of cameos in this movie. Chevy Chase is one of them. Now, Chevy Chase is on the poster to this movie, but his role is really more or less just a cameo. He shows up about halfway through the movie, and he's there for maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and then he's gone. But when he is there, he does bring a certain amount of the classic Chevy Chase comedy to this movie, especially in the sense that he is also playing an exaggerated version of himself, who is like, I can do whatever I want. I'm Chevy Chase, and he starts being a jerk at this restaurant, and he's like, "Well, I've won an Oscar," and Paul Hogan's like, "Have you?" And he's like, "Yeah," and Paul Hogan's like, "Well, I actually did almost win an Oscar for writing," and Chevy's like, "Is that really even an Oscar anymore?" so it was a pretty funny moment, and I'm glad that they put him in. But I would have liked to have seen him in there more than he was, especially the way that he was almost front and center on that poster. But the time that he was in there did work really well, and Chevy Chase and Paul Hogan really played well off of each other. You can tell that they're friends in real life. The way they communicated with each other in this movie. It's as far as cameos go, there's several others. There's Wayne Knight. There's John Cleese. There's Wayne Knight right there. His role was also relatively small. He was crashing at Paul Hogan's house because he was not getting along with his wife, and that was kind of funny. Again, Wayne Knight playing himself, an exaggeration of himself, and it worked really well. Um, but yeah, you had several others. You had John Cleese. Now you also had some cameos. Oh yes. Oh, why is his name escaping me? Die Hard guy. Oh, he was in it, and he did a pretty good job in this movie. Also, his cameo bigger than Reginald Vell Johnson. His cameo was actually bigger than several of the other cameos. He shows up in 2 or 3 scenes as Paul Hogan's buddy, so it was good to see him there. We also had, so there's John Cleese. So John Cleese was one of my favorites. So in this fictional version of Get in Trouble, he's got a penchant for getting into high speed chases with police. Here's a scene where he's actually getting Paul Hogan unwittingly into a high speed chase with the police officers. It's all really funny, very tongue in cheek, and definitely worked as far as I was concerned. You also had some cameos from several other people, like Gary Oldman makes like a 2-second cameo. Chris Hemsworth is in there. They get a bunch of Australian actors to kind of pop up and talk about Paul Hogan for a minute, and most of the time it's in the negative because like I said, there's been a lot of stuff happen in this movie that really paints him as a bad person by the media. This is that pitch meeting I was talking about where they were trying to pitch Will Smith as his son. Um, but all in all, this movie was very sweet. I'd have liked to have seen Linda Kozlowski, is that her name? His wife. I'd like to see her pop up, his ex-wife. She never popped up. She never showed up, and I guess I'm not really surprised. It was kind of, it was fun to see Paul Hogan back. It was fun to see Paul Hogan doing some of the Crocodile Dundee shtick. At the same time, he is definitely looking a lot older, and I don't know. There's some sense of sadness. I mean, he could be around for another 2 or 3 decades. He could be. I don't know how old he is. He's probably in his 70s. He could be around for a while. But there's this certain sense of sadness when I see my icons from my childhood enter, old age. I've had that experience with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. I'm having it with Bruce Willis, and now I'm having it with Paul Hogan as well. Seeing him enter old agedness is just, I don't know. It's like, aw. but he was really funny in this. He still has a lot of charisma, and his buddies that he pulled into this movie were also very effective. Like I said, Chevy Chase, John Cleese, Wayne Knight, and several others. So I definitely recommend this movie if you are a fan of the Crocodile Dundee movies. If you're a fan of Paul Hogan, I definitely recommend it. I don't think you can really go wrong here because it was a lot of fun, and it was funny mostly. There was several misses, but it was also pretty funny. So I definitely recommend it. I'm going to give it a B+. It did have a lot of misses on the jokes. They really tried to tell some relevant jokes, tell some jokes about cancel culture, and not all of them felt like not all of them felt like Paul Hogan really had a super strong understanding about what cancel culture was. There was a funny Harvey Weinstein joke in there though. Um, but yeah, it was good. It was good. Now I was surprised that it was so good. So that's my take on the excellent Mr. Dundee. Have you watched it? Did you even know this was a thing? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you so much for joining me here at the OK Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff we love to talk about. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.